I work at a university. In higher education, there's a certain level of achievement and opportunity inherent in the atmosphere. All the students here seemingly have the chance to earn a college degree, which is sort of our modern-day benchmark for employability and success. Looking closer, though, students struggle, and not just because the coursework is rigorous. Many students struggle because they have a job outside of school, which makes them tired or absent, like when they have to cover a shift at the last minute. A lot of our students struggle because they have a learning disability or a medical condition such as PTSD that makes normal college situations difficult for them. For example, the activity and noise levels in some of our lab-based classes can be a serious problem for this segment of our student body. We also have first-generation college students who feel competing pressure from family and school to make each their main priority with no model of how to balance the two. Even though all of these students are enrolled at the same school, they're not really playing with an even hand. One of our students with a particularly tough hand has been living at a motel, and before that, living out of a car. If given the choice between making it to work on time or going to your history class, I think probably anybody in that situation would choose work. So for this student, graduation is not a foregone conclusion. Keep that in mind, and let's back up a sec. When I was an undergraduate, I was involved with a group called MASSPIRG. It stands for the Massachusetts Public Interest Research Group. I volunteered with the MASSPIRG chapter on my campus in the area of hunger and homelessness. I volunteered at a food and resource center, helped organize benefit events in the community, and got to know a lot of people living in poverty. I learned about the ways that they ended up on the street, how they got by on the street, and if they were really lucky, eventually got off the street. So when I heard that one of our students was homeless, I was in disbelief. This is a private school, I thought to myself. Tuition is outrageous. I thought, how is this student possibly getting by and dealing with this level of pressure? I also thought about how I would never be strong enough to overcome similar obstacles in my own life. For a while after learning all of this, I had the student on my mind a lot, and I was working with a faculty member who was trying to develop an assignment. He wanted his students to work in groups to complete their final project, which was a research paper, and was looking for some kind of tool that would allow the students to give a presentation component without PowerPoint. This is pretty typical stuff, and normally I would have suggested that his students use some flashy tech tool to build a presentation, and then gone back to best practices and posting to the LMS for sharing, etc., etc. But I considered how the homeless student would complete this assignment if required to. I looked at every little detail of what he was proposing and saw how every single superfluous component would add time and stress to this student. Working in a group, adding a presentation on, writing a paper, etc. Now, I get that these are tried and true assignments, and they're perfectly fine. But I thought about the Antoine de Saint-Exupéry quote, which says, "Perfection is finally attained not when there's no longer anything to add, but when there's no longer anything to take away." And though I usually consider that quote in more artistic design areas, like textiles and graphics, I saw that it was true for learning design too. More does not mean better. More discussion boards, more test questions, more readings, or more complicated assignments to complete. So I encouraged the faculty member to reduce the assignment down to its essential components and to give the students options about the different ways they could prove their learning, like a paper, a literature review, oral presentation, or a media piece. If we're honest about it, traditional college is a jumping through hoops of sorts with its credit hour requirements and all that. But as e-learning advances, we should really be breaking the mold of what higher education looks like, not just repackaging the ivory tower in electronic format. And it doesn't mean dumbing down our material, but removing unnecessary barriers in our work. As instructional designers in the field of e-learning, we need to strive for flexibility, accessibility, and an increased level of thoughtfulness as education is reinvented for the modern learner.